This lesson helps you understand relations and functions. A relation is a well-defined relationship between a set of input values and a set of output values. For example, if you make $25 an hour, there would be a relationship between the hours you worked and the amount of your pay. If you worked 1 hour, you'd get $25. If you worked 2 hours, you'd get $50. If you worked 3 hours, you'd get $75, and so on. The set of all inputs for a relation is the domain, and the set of all outputs for a relation is the range. It's important to understand the domain and range of a relation. For example, if you asked, "How much do I get for -3 hours?" the answer would be, "That's not defined." A negative number of hours does not make sense, so negative numbers are not in the domain of the relation. A relation is not defined for values that are not in its domain. Also, if you asked, "How many hours do I need to work to get $3,000? the answer would be, "That's not defined." Since there are 24 hours in a day, the most you could make would be $600. You couldn't make $3,000 because values greater than 600 are not in the range of the relation. A relation is not defined for values that are not in its range. It's useful to think of a relation as a machine that has an internal mechanism that relates an input value to an output value. For example, here is the $25 an hour machine. If you input 2 hours, the output is $50. If you input 3 hours, the output is $75. If you input -3 hours, well, it won't actually explode, but since negative numbers aren't in the domain of the relation, an output is not defined. This relation is a function because one input number of hours is related to only one output amount of pay. When each element of the domain is related to only one element in the range, the relation is a function. The face of a clock is an example of a relation that is not a function. The face of a clock defines a relationship between a number and the time of day. For example, if the face of the clock reads 3, then the time of day is 3 o'clock. However, it could be 3 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Whenever one input is related to more than one output, the relation is not a function. To summarize, a relation is a well-defined relationship between a set of input values and a set of output values. The set of input values is called a domain, and the set of output values is called a range. If an element of the domain maps to one element in the range, the relation is a function. If any element of the domain maps to more than one element in the range, the relation is not a function. The next lessons will define relations and functions in more detail.